So I'm at Whistler Olympic Park. I thought it would be a perfect place to share my reflections on the Rio 2016 Olympic and Paralympic Summer Games. I had the privilege of working in Rio for 2 weeks in the lead up to the Olympic Games, with a few days into the Games themselves, and many friends and colleagues were certainly there for years and certainly weeks and months getting ready to help host the Games. I think we're going to learn a lot about the kind of legacies that came out of the Games, but some of the features that I thought were really noteworthy that I'm excited to share with you today is that even though this country was very challenged economically, it was very smart and prudent in the kinds of planning and investments it did make. For every real, their currency, that was invested in public infrastructure, 5 reals were invested in community benefits, environmental and social benefits for the people of Rio and the region, in Brazil. Over 70% of the venues were already built, thanks to having hosted the Pan Am Games in 2007. They deployed an interesting concept called nomadic architecture. So for venues that they needed for the Games but didn't need for the long term, they either developed using overlay materials that were rented and then returned, like the amazing beach volleyball venue on Copacabana Beach, or nomadic architecture at Olympic Park for arenas like the Futura Arena that was used for handball. But its long-term design and construction and contract is that it now becomes for schools that can be rebuilt and relocated in the city of Rio, elementary schools. Other elements that were very thoughtful in the sustainable event hosting of both the Games was the sourcing of food. 100% of the food that related to protein, like fish, was Marine Stewardship Council certified, so sustainably sourced fish and fish products, and also 100% deforestation-proof beef for the athletes and officials in both Games. Other thoughtful elements in the sustainable event planning was the sourcing. So for things like the pillows and cushions to make the athlete village comfortable for the Olympic and Paralympic athletes, that contract of over 30,000 cushions was awarded to a series of cooperatives run by women who prepared and made and sewed the cushions, and this of course created economic return for populations that don't typically benefit from large events like that. Accessibility and thoughtfulness for the Paralympic Games was really extraordinary, including how they designed the permanent pathways and access points to and throughout the venues, and certainly at Olympic Park, Bara Olympic Park, with not only responding to the universal design standards but exceeding them in terms of the grades, making it very accessible to roll and see the venues. As well, you might have noticed the athletes listening to their medals, the Paralympic athletes. There were different sized beads that had a different tone, so they could identify if it was a gold, silver, or bronze if they were hearing impaired. Many work opportunities, paid work opportunities for people with physical disabilities, including 50 paid work opportunities for 50 employees with intellectual disabilities, mostly Down syndrome, where they were hired along with having support crew to do great jobs that were very much needed for the Games. And I'd probably be remiss without saying the extraordinary comeback on the ticket sales for the Paralympic Games. When I left Rio and towards the end of the Olympic Games, we knew that there was only 12% of the tickets were sold. The Fill the Seats campaign was ignited, and we ended up seeing over 2.2 million tickets sold. It turns out Rio 2016 Paralympic Games were the most attended and enjoyed by spectators and visitors with disabilities, locals, families, as well as visitors, second only to London 2012. We'll certainly hear more about the incredible design thoughtfulness that went into these Games and the benefits that were created. But those are just a few. And I just want to say, from one sustainable events gal who tracks this work and celebrates it and works with so many that try to make these benefits. A super congratulations to Rio 2016. Take care, you guys.